Yo, yo, what is up, everyone? It is your boy Nerdtaku and Noel Drew, and we are here for another chapter of One Piece here. Um, I wasn't able to read the new chapter yet, obviously. I was busy with this little one all weekend. We are paranoid new parents, so we ended up at the ER for what appears to be no reason. Um, we're just kind of crazy. So it was an interesting weekend, to say the least. So, but I am here now, and I am ready to read this chapter. Um, so she's just chilling right now, so I'm going to read it, and we are gonna get right into it. Um, Thank you guys so much for all the support. Please like the stream if you can. I'm gonna try and go live with NYC Anime Nerd sometime this week, probably at night, and should be good to go. So let's just jump into it. So it says One Piece chapter 1168, The Snows of Elbaf. And it says, reader request, A Family of Sheep Knitting Hachan 6 Gloves by Mr. Fuji. Okay. Interesting cover page. Nothing crazy. It's interesting. Oh no. So there are 6 shovels. I was like, there's not even 6 shovels here. But no, there is. So that's cool. Okay, let's just jump right into it. We know what we're here for here. Okay, we're gonna go single page so we don't get spoiled here. And it says that same year, 15 years ago, around the world, they're saying those giants in the Navy played a crucial role once again. And it says, that's so great to hear. I used to think they were scary. Now I wish I could meet one someday. And some of the other people are saying, is there any way to get more shipped here? It says, folks can't get enough of that Elbaf seafood. And some guys say, yeah, I bet. And someone says, good Elbaf cedar, it's quality stuff. And it says, too bad it's so hard to ship. And the dude's like, sold. And then it says, Elbaf New World. It says, and once our dream of being part of the world government comes true, I think that we should build a cruise ship so that we can travel freely to our fellow nations. And everyone's like, oh, King Harold. It's like, well, we'll see. And then it says, to the rest of the world, we are just a very curious minority. There are so many different peoples in so many different countries. They each have cultures worthy of respect, and as we come into contact with them, Elbaf will gain more friends and more wisdom. And then one of the giant, and it's, oh no, he continues and says, we're almost there, my countrymen. Our future is bright. And then one of the giant warriors says, guess the warrior business is dead. And then Harold says, I will see it through, Ida. Jeez, that means that she's probably dead. And he's doing this all. It's in commemorate her. And yeah. They see some kids playing, and Harold says, this is thanks to you, Saul. A lot. And then Saul says, A lot more healthy and kids swinging swords. Dere shishishi. And Saul says, don't it scare you thinking about what you're losing, Harold? And Harold's like, dot, dot, dot. It says, I no longer think of military might as our nation's strength. Ida taught me everything I know. The fact that I met her is my lifelong treasure. Brother, what a dick. And Ida says, hey, Harold, you've really changed. When I first came here, I was terrified of all the civil wars. And she said, but you changed this country bit by bit. She says, children studying hard, bright and cheerful laughter. It's like a different country completely. And Harold says, old practices, strange customs. We ought to throw out all the bad habits of our warrior past. And she says, really? But I like warrior's pride. I think it's cool. You ought to treasure your culture. And he said, well, what about the fact that you and I weren't allowed to marry? I've never gotten over that. And she says, ha ha ha. You told them you wanted to make me your true wife, didn't you? And then she coughs and says, that's so sweet of you. You're my big sweetie. What about Loki? And Harold says, he'll be Harudin's little brother. How's that? And then she says, to me, that's what he's always been. And she says, just hearing that from you will keep me fed for months. But really, I don't mind. You're everyone's king. You're everyone's King Harold, not just mine. And she said, we're almost there, aren't we? And Harold says, that's right, Ida. Very soon we'll be connected to the rest of the world, and our world will grow to be millions of times larger than before. Then we'll do what we used to do and go traveling all over. And she says, that sounds fantastic. I can't wait. And he says, neither can I. And he reaches out his hand, and then hers goes limp. And he walks out crying. And then Hardin comes in and starts crying. And we see him face palmed, something crazy. And you see Loki in a cell tilting his hat down. And you see snow falling over the village that looked like he destroyed. It says 14 years ago, Sacred Marijois. And someone says, Jenks has gone missing. And someone says, yes. And once his current mission was complete, he was on track to be made a full fledged knight. And it says, as his backup, that means you have a golden opportunity. Will you take it? And Harold says, of course. I want to join the Knights of God. It means that Elbaf will be allowed to join the government. And the elders are like, congratulations. The Great One trusts you. What a long haul it's been. And now you will be known as the king who changed Elbaf's history forever. And he says, actually, on the day that Elbaf is entered into the world government, I plan to abdicate the throne. Abdicate the throne. Someone younger and pure deserves to be our king. And Jupiter's just like, I think that's Jupiter, right? I don't fucking know. It's weird. He's got like a mustache here, but I don't think he has a mustache in current time. Um, and then we see Emu on the throne, and it says, "That is for Mu to decide." And it says, "Why is someone sitting on the empty throne?" And Emu says, "Come closer. I have been watching thee, Herald." And it's like, ah, and it says, "There's strength." And then it's like it's like his uh shallow mark all of a sudden gains these horns. And it says, "It's rippling through me. It's almost frightening." And then Mars says, "And now he is immortal." It chills the spine. He is more than a monster. At this point, he's a weapon. And then he says, "Now at long last, thou art an undying knight in service to Mu." Undying? It still doesn't feel real. And it says, "Thou wilt create an abyss on Elbaf that will be thy bond to us." And Harold says, "And when thou hast complete the final duty after that, let's have a toast." Oh. And then all of a sudden we see him traveling back. You know what's funny about this? Yo, one of the guys on TOPT said that they don't get the immortality from the Shallows mark, which makes total sense to me. But someone named Larry crashed out about it and said that, nah, that doesn't make any sense. It should be the base level you get immortality. And he was like, no, because they would make a huge deal of it. And then lo and behold, here we go. I gotta send a message later. That's so funny. Oh my goodness. Wow. That is something. It says, "Let's have a toast." Oh, excuse me. And then it says, "Thy wish will be granted. Elbaf will be welcomed among the world government member nations." And Harold says, everyone says, "Welcome home, King Harold." And then it says, "Our castle." And he's like, "Huh? What did you say, oh great Moo?" And it says, "Use in thy entire country to form an army of warriors. Thou wilt build a giant fleet to rival the navy and act for the benefit of the world. That is thy." And Harold says, "Wait, no, stop. I have been doing all of this to help Elbaf escape the cycle of fighting." And then it says, "Of course, I have always intended to allow those who wish to enlist in the Navy to do so, but not like this." And the guards are like, "Who's His Majesty talking to there?" Oh, here we go. And then it says, "Thou sadist, history would be atoned for. Thou saidst thou wouldst be a slave." And Harold said, "Yes, but only myself." And then he says, "History is not so light that it can be shouldered by thee alone." And then it says, "Do not speak them. Thou canst not disobey Mu." And then it says, "Those who have accepted the depths covenant are given immortality and strength, but must obey orders in return. Think what thou wilt, I will have my way. And all of a sudden, we see we see the truth. I'm so glad we're getting this fucking verbiage and like told to us for real, because this is amazing. This is going to be a huge W for Seb. I'm so excited for him. And it says, I can't stop. I'm being controlled. And Elbaf with me. It says there was never any intent to bring us into the circle of the world. Damn you, Emu. Oh wow, no way. You're being betrayed. You're being betrayed by the fucking dude who literally was you were told. You were told that he was going to betray you. You were told by so many people, like, yo, don't trust the world government. Yo, don't trust the world government. And you were like, no, but like, what if I just fucking did? Like, what if I just was the guy who just, did tricks on it? Would give up myself to be a slave and all these things. Like, bro, this is your fault. And so Harold yells, guards to arms. And says, were you planning to make the warriors of Elbaf your slaves? And they're like, what is it, your majesty? It's someone in here? And Harold says, bring chains, tie me to this pillar. And they were like, huh? And he says, act quickly, call Chief Yarul and my sons. And Harold says, I'm pretty sure Hardin is out at sea right now, and Prince Loki is still in a cell for that thing he did. And he's like, I cannot resist. And he says, what's the matter, your majesty? He says, just release him. It says, world holding cell. You're freed, Loki. And he's like, This is report to Arst Castle immediately. The king calls for you. And then it says Yarrow's Castle. And it says, urgently. Just a moment. What could it be? And it says, but now let us return to the story. And it says, on this day, there was a terrible massacre inside the castle. And the most beloved ruler in the history of Elbaf, wise King Harold, perished. Lucas said, to be fair, the One Piece world is full of propaganda and misinformation. Us readers know a lot more than the average person in the world. I agree, right? I'm sorry though, I would be super apprehensive if one, I saw what the world government was doing, because we know that King Harold knew what was happening on God Valley. Um, or at least was told what was happening by Rox. He dealt with Rox a bunch, and he told him how terrible the world government was. The man snuck into Marijois himself. I mean, he probably saw all the slaves. He knows that they keep slaves. You know, there's so many things that, and he was well traveled in the world, and he saw what some of the world government was doing to people. Like, there's plenty of evidence, and yes, maybe we know it in the world how truly terrible they are, but even just a little bit of this information, and you can put two and two together to understand that the world government is trash, dog. They killed your friend, and even though he was a notorious pirate, they, he told you, like, hey, oh, they're going to kill my family. Like, there's a lot there's a lot that Harold was aware of that he just turned a blind eye to because he wanted to have the giants of Elbaf in the circle of the world. So I mean, I don't know. It seems to me like a lot for all this to take place here. Yeah, but that's the end. And there's no hmm, damn. Harold is really shaping up to be one of the shittiest characters, in my opinion. Um, I mean, he wanted to do the right thing, right? But he did things in such a way that it definitely made things much worse. Lucas said he definitely saw corruption, no doubt about that, but did he see the full picture? I doubt it. Emu's existence and his orders, however, I think that was the real eye opener for Harold. Yeah, but that's late, Holmes. Like that is a late to the game realization because once you have that mark on, you're cooked, dude. You are cooked. Like like yeah, like as soon as that mark was full, he was like, "I'm immortal," and then mm, that's crazy. Sorry, not trying to wake you. Um, like he's kind of he even remarks at the strength that he's feeling once the mark is in place, and how it. So is this the narration that is hold on. Is this the narration declaring that we are going back to current time? Or is this the narration saying like we're going back to what the original story was supposed to be, which was just what Loki dealt with that day? Because to me, I read it as that we're going back to see what happened to Loki on this day. Because um it's like, but now let us return to the story, not like the current time or anything like that. This is the story that Loki was supposed to be telling. All that other stuff is just like information that we are getting exposition wise that Loki is not telling. This is just the story of this day. So there's a break week next week. So next next Friday we won't be getting a chapter, but it seems like maybe on the 19th we will. But then we're probably gonna have a break for 2 weeks, maybe 1 week, probably two. What? Are you uncomfortable? I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Um, so we're gonna have probably one more chapter, which means that we're probably gonna be in the new year when we finally get back to Elbath, like current time. So I'm thinking we got at least two more chapters, maybe three. Um, because I don't know if we just get Loki and Yarul taking out King Harold, or if we get like Loki taking and Yarul taking out Harold, and then Yarul losing his memories from the sword in his head, and then we see Loki leave Elbaf and Shanks bring him back. I don't know if we get that, but that would be sick. I would like that a lot. What? I know. I bet you want to know exactly what's happening. Um, but yeah, no, this is poor King Harold. He is a product that was for sale, and Emu bought him and treated him like he asked to be treated. He said, I will be a slave. And he thought, okay, just me though, right? And it's like, dude, you're a king of a whole country. Your orders are their orders. Like low key the whole time. I get it. Low key the whole time. They weren't just gunning for you. Like you're not as marketable as your entire nation to the world government. You are a small piece of the puzzle for them. And they want it all. So what girl? It's okay. We can go back to sleep. Um, but yeah, so good. It's a pretty good chapter. Okay. Since you were asleep, we'll quick go over the chapter and then we'll give it a ranking. How about that? She agrees. Let's go over it, shall we? Okay. So beginning part pretty much pissed me off. Harold's just kind of like glazing. Um, and talking about how he wants a cruise ship and all this other shit. And then when we find out that Ida's dead, eh, oh, excuse me. And then we rewind to the moment where she died, and he was basically telling her all this good stuff, just to turn around and then uh, her die. And Loki wasn't even there because he was in jail for burning a whole village down for poisoning her. Never seen a more valid crash out. Right? Valid crash out. What? Can I help you? Can I help you readjust? How's that? Yeah, oh, tired. It's okay to go sleep. Um, and so completely 100% valid crash out. Harold sucks. Um, then we get to this whole emu thing. Finally getting this moment of like, you're gonna become immortal now. Getting all the information. What? You okay? Um, and just seeing that Harold is has gotten this and like what the new um Mark looks like. How it's like that, and that's not the mark that Shanks had. He had the regular one, and he dipped out before it got like this. So people saying like, "Oh, he cut off that arm because," I don't know if that's so much the reason. You know what I'm saying? So, um, I think that otherwise, pretty interesting. What Shanks mentioned, you're activated. And then Harold coming home, getting the bad news that Emu double crosses people and doesn't give a fuck what they want. Total usual villain stuff here. Um, Also pretty good stuff. So, and then this conclusion to us finally going back to where the story began, where Emu is going to use Harold, probably flip the switch on him, and probably take him over, and have, uh, and this is when Loki and Yarul show up to see the king when he was, because they're both being summoned by him, and they walk in and see all of the guards like skewering him, and then they crash out. Yeah, like that. That's a crash out. Um, Overall, I think that this chapter was, it was good. I'd say it was like an 8 out of 10. It wasn't like anything that I was like, my God, this is the best thing ever. It did give us a lot of context, some backstory, some lore. But again, it also just made me hate Harold more. But like I feel like that's natural in these circumstances. Um, I am interested, however, if after Loki and Yarul beat him, if he like returns to his senses for a little bit and shares some final words with Loki, that'll be interesting. Um, I hope they do, and I hope that he basically like tells him what he's supposed to do, but things just kind of go off the rails. Probably something like, make sure you and your brother get along. He's also a true giant. You guys should share the throne or something like that, or, follow your destiny wherever it's supposed to go, like, normal last words type ish. Um, so yeah, really hoping for that. Um, that would be really cool. So I'm really, hopefully that happens. Hopefully it all turns out good, because I mean, I really would like to see Harold have like a moment with Loki, because I'm gonna be honest, this whole backstory, I don't think I've seen one moment where Loki and Harold had like a really good father son moment, besides for him being like, you and your brother should get along. Like every other time he was like yelling at him, or, being away. Like, he really hasn't been a father. He's been pretty much a deadbeat. He's basically Yasop, but they just happen to have such a longer life that he eventually comes back every once in a while, and he's a king and kind of has to return to his nation. Um, but I mean, literally, he's Yasop in every other way, especially except for the fact that he was actually there when his wife passed away. So, yeah, Harold is Yasop. He's the Yasop of the Giants. So who knows? Who knows, right? She fell asleep. Um, but yeah, it's it was a good chapter. Like I said, just really makes me dislike Harold. When we first got introduced to Harold, I was kind of like on the train of like, this guy's probably evil. He weakened Elbaf to make it easier for the world government to conquer. That was my original train of thought. I don't know if this is better for his character, to be completely honest. I feel like him being this stupid and falling in line like this is actually somehow worse. Because in one hand, he's an evil genius. In the other hand, he's just an ignorant Uncle Tom, basically, that basically bent over for the world government and said, bro, take what you want. Take what you want. As long as I get a seat at the table, as long as I'm in the room where it happens, then and I can bring Elbaf to the table because that's what I truly want, and I want to repent for our past transgressions, blah blah blah. Like like that type of motivation for him, although pure, was like just drenched in ignorance of the world and what the world is capable of. And even though this motherfucker went out and saw it and the world government in all its glory, he said, I still want to hang out with those bad guys. It's like fully seeing like the jocks at a high school beat the shit out of the nerds and then saying, yes, but I would like to hang out with them. Those are good people. It's just not, it's not good, you know? And you didn't even have good reasons. You were trying to be a good person. Yes. Do you have thoughts? Yeah, I agree. If you're trying to be a good person, no matter how good you think you are, if you align yourself with shitty people, you are going to be associated with those shitty people. This is a lesson for you. Okay? This is the same reason, and I'll say it again till I'm blue in the face. Same reason why Garp will never be a hero. He will never be the good person. Same reason why anybody who ever had any sense and actually wanted to help people never stayed in the actual fucking military in One Piece. The Marines, the people in Sword, they had to get out of the military, sign their resignation letters just to be able to do a little bit of good. Crazy, dog. Crazy. And it's the same thing here. You want to do good, you have to fucking not align yourself with the bad guys. Because it doesn't matter how much good you do if the people you are with are doing bad. It would be like setting five fires to put them all out as firefighters, and then one of them happens to not have been one you set. You're still setting five fires and putting out six. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. Just absolutely abysmal for his character. Um and I hate it for him, but also anyone who reads the series and people even in the actual flashback have told him this was the outcome and he didn't listen. So, I guess it is what it is, right? Just sad to see. And I hope that Loki is able to right the wrongs that Harold has committed to make things better. You know, um, but overall, again, it was a good chapter. Gave us a lot of lore. It does suck, but I don't think that it detracts from the chapter because I knew that this was kind of, I knew he was Uncle Thomas and I knew that this was kind of happening. So it's not like it's taking away from Harold's character, so I dislike it. I knew it was going to be the outcome that he was going to eventually be down this road, but it's still good storytelling, right? Because we obviously know that this is going to lead Loki and Harden to be different than their father, which is what I want from them. Hi. Um, yes. Do you have anything to add since you interrupted? Just kidding. Um, Anyway, that is my thoughts. Please let me know your thoughts, whether it be in the live chat, whether it be in the comments afterwards. And please do me a favor, like the stream. It helps with the YouTube algorithm. Um, I appreciate everybody who came through here. I saw there was a few likes dropped. Appreciate you. Um, and I appreciate you as well, Lucas, for coming in and talking. You know, I say it every time, One Piece is better as a conversation. I love having that conversation with you guys. You know, there isn't a ton of people that I get to talk One Piece with very frequently. And right now, you know, being a dad is number one for me. So when I get able to, you know, put her down for a nap or something like that and come talk One Piece, it always makes my day better. Um, so thank you guys so much as always. Like I said, break week next week, which is good because Rogue comes out for Marvel Rivals. I'll be playing the fuck out of her, because she is one of my favorite X-Men characters. And I will see you the following week for chapter 1169, dog. And it should be a banger. Um, so thank you so much as always. Thank you for the support, and I will see you next time. Jana from me and Noel.